Alright, y'all, so what's up? So I just, kind of came to the realization of something. We've been taught so backwards. We've always been taught that ownership is everything, ownership is key. And what I'm starting to realize and come to the truth about is that ownership is not what we think it is. It's like when you start to really look at things, you start to understand that ownership is not real and you don't own nothing. No one owns anything in this country. Well, we don't own anything that really matters in this country. So let's talk about the first thing that everybody always get duped into believing, they're homeowners. Everybody, as soon as they get their first mortgage, be like, I own a home, I'm a homeowner. And you're really not. A person who lives in a home and has a mortgage, you pay an upper echelon, bougie type of rent. You have more perks and you get to stay in your agreement much longer. So when you're paying a mortgage, when you turn around and you pay that mortgage off and you're done paying the lender, you still have to pay your property taxes for life. Well, let me exchange that. You don't pay your property tax for life, you pay your property taxes forever. And if you happen to get behind in your property taxes, guess what happens? The municipality then shows up. And when they show up, they can turn around and take your property from you for not paying back property taxes. Imagine you got a $400,000 house. You done paid off all this, that whole mortgage. You done paid it off. By the time you got done paying the mortgage off, you done paid about $700,000. But, the house, you done paid off $400,000 for the house, and you have $400,000 in equity. But by the time you got done with the insurance and the lending company, you done paid about $700,000. So you done paid this house off and you got $400,000 worth of equity into it, and you turn around and you forget to pay the property taxes for about 2 or 3 years. Now guess who's gonna come knocking at your door to come and take your house from you? Yes, the municipality. They will be coming to take your house from you, and by law, they can only sell the house for what you owe them. So they come and get your home. They're gonna take it and sell it on the court steps for the taxes that is owed. So you might owe $20,000 to $25,000 in back taxes for property taxes, but you got $400,000 in equity. Imagine getting your house taken, losing the whole $400,000 in equity. The municipality come and take your house, sell it on the court steps for the $25,000 in back taxes that you owe, and now somebody else has your property that they bought for $25,000, and the $400,000 in equity you built is going down the drain. If you think anything that I said is not true, ask Yo Gotti. The number 2 thing in ownership is that when you see that it's something that we think we own, but we really don't, it's our cars. So when you get a car, you turn around, you get to the dealership or whatever, however you do it, you get financed, you finance through the bank, you turn around and you take your car, you pay off the financing, and you turn around and you pay off the debt of the car. You sit back and be like, yeah, well, I own a car now. It's like, yeah, but you own it to an extent. You own it, you own it with liberties. So you have ownership of it with rules and regulation. So basically, you can pay off the car and don't owe no note on it. But what do you have to do every year? You have to register your car. And you have to have insurance. If you don't have insurance and registration, what happens? You get penalized, you get fined, and they charge you money to make sure that you have the required things that they want you to have on your vehicle. This is supposed to be my vehicle. How is it that y'all can tell I have to abide by what y'all tell me what to do on my vehicle, else I can't drive my vehicle? And then if I don't comply with this, you get pulled up by the police. What can they do? They're gonna write you a ticket, they can take you to jail and take your vehicle. So when you start to think about the ownership of your car, it's like, I really don't have that much ownership. It's mine, I can drive it, but I still have to drive it and be in compliance with what the state want me to do. Oh, and this the next one right here. This is especially for our new business owners and people that are getting into business. The first thing people always say when they get a new business, they be like, I'm a business owner. And it's like, no, you're not a business owner. You run the business. Because most people, when they start a business, they're going to create an LLC or they're going to create a C Corp business structure or nonprofit. Now, on the federal level, the LLC is looked at as a disregarded entity. And on the federal level, your C Corp business structure, your nonprofit, your trust, they are looked at as people. Now, on the state level, your LLC is looked at as an entity and is considered a person on the state level. So again, get this straight. When you create a business and you start a business, when you create the corporate entity, whether it's a limited liability company or as a C Corp business structure, you are creating what's considered a person. Again, let me reiterate that. When you create an LLC and a C Corp, you are creating a person in the eyes of the IRS. Now watch this. Slavery was abolished in 1865. So when that happened, people can't own people. And part of the reason that people get into business and you create these business structures to do business with so you can limit your liability. That's why it's called a limited liability company. That's why your C Corp business structures and nonprofit business structures offer you the strongest form of protection when you create the entity, because you are totally separate from the entity, the person. So as you go into business, if anything goes wrong and you got a disgruntled person that wants to take a lawsuit out on you, you have protection against your personal things because you're not operating in your personal name. The business is its own person and you're just an employee of the business. So no one can sue you personally. They can sue the business, and whatever assets is tied to the business, that's the only thing they can go after. That's why you create a corporate entity to totally separate yourself from the business, because the corporate entity that you created is another person, and because it's another person, it can stand alone in trial, and it can accept the liability and the responsibility for the things that go wrong with it. So when you sit up there and say you're a business owner, you don't say that because you're setting yourself up. Just think about, you own a dog. Because you own that dog, when that dog attacks somebody, who is the person going after when they file suit because this dog attacked them? They're going after the owner. Because you're the owner, now you turn around and you accept full ownership and you accept full liability for anything that goes wrong with the company you own. Just like if you have a dog and the dog does something, you accept full responsibility for what the dog does because you own the dog. So now if you want to be a business owner, understand that if anything goes wrong with the business because you want to continue to put yourself out there as the business owner, then you accept full responsibility. It's like you're saying, I accept full responsibility. So you're not a business owner when you create a corporation. You run a business. You created the business so it can generate capital, it can make money, and if anything go wrong, you have no liability because you don't own the business, you control it. You control it and you run it and you're an employee of the business. So in me saying all this, what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, if y'all made it all the way to the end of this video, is that we've been lied to about ownership. Ownership is nothing. Control is everything. So we want to get to the point where we own nothing and control everything, because everything is about control. It has nothing to do with ownership. Ownership is just this facade that people, this facade label that are given for people to make them feel good like they really done something, but it has nothing to do with ownership. It's all about control. So when you buy a house, you're not a homeowner. You have control over a piece of property. You have equitable interest in this property, and you have control over it for eon. When you buy a vehicle, you have control over that vehicle to drive around. You drive around with regulation. You're a business. You run a business. You don't own a business. You run a business. The business owns itself and it owns everything that comes with it, so you don't have any liability. You just run it. You control it. You don't own it.